Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, spews the oldest hatred of anti-Semitism with the newest technology. He tweets that Israel must be annihilated.
Benjamin Netanyahu is being assailed from a number of corners prior to and in the wake of his congressional appearance. But there is a bottom line to this speech, one that is being missed by the mainstream media, plenty of critics. And it's that message that needs to be brought to the forefront of the debate. Let's welcome back to MidPoint, Associate Dean at the Simon Wiesenthal Center, a leading Jewish human rights organization. Rabbi Abraham Cooper joins us. Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was quite an event to be present at. I've heard the Prime Minister speak many times before. I have to say he put his case forward with dignity, with passion, and also with a very large helping hand of thanks to the American people and also to the President of the United States for the support that he can talk about and for some of the things they do together, which obviously aren't going to be spoken about publicly.
Rabbi, there's a couple of reactions that I want to get from you, because these are the things that are coming out right away. The president apparently has said that basically, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, that the speech was nice, but the prime minister offered no viable options, were the words that he used. How distressed does that make you when you hear the president give that kind of a reaction?
Well, I think if he'd listened to the entire speech or watched it, at the end, I thought Prime Minister Netanyahu said a very interesting thing, meaning that Israel and the other neighbors of Iran in the region, they want to see a deal, but they want to see a deal that they, quote unquote, literally can live with. It is, for the states closest to Iran initially, a matter of life and death. So it wasn't that he was trying to nix any deal. He was basically put forward in a very respectful fashion why the current parameters only play the tune of the mullahs in Iran, and at the end of it, at a certain period, actually empower them to become a nuclear power. So I think if the president was listening carefully, and I think many Democrats as well as Republicans were, he wasn't saying there shouldn't be negotiations with Iran. He just said, let's make sure at the other end that they're not capable to do exactly what North Korea did. Sign on the dotted line, and when it was convenient for them, to then break out and become a nuclear power.
Rabbi, here's something else that I thought you'd find interesting as well. The House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said that she was close to tears during the address to Congress, but this was her quote, and we just got this in. I was near tears throughout the Prime Minister's speech, saddened by the insult to the intelligence of the United States as part of the P5+1 nations, and saddened by the condescension toward our knowledge of the threat posed by Iran and our broader commitment to preventing nuclear proliferation. End quote. Your reaction to that statement?
I think it's frankly ridiculous. This is not a spectator sport with Israel, UAE, Kuwait, etc., Saudi Arabia on the sidelines. These are life and death issues. They're not in the inner circle. And they have every right to turn to their friend, their ally, their trusted allies, and to the people in the Senate who are going to be reviewing whatever deal is going to come forward in order to share the perspective on behalf of many, many millions of Muslims, Christians, and Jews across the region. So I think for anyone to have sat through that speech that started with about 5 minutes of gratitude to the American people, to Congress, to all the presidents from Harry Truman through President Obama, I have to say that frankly, that's quite ridiculous. My read, sitting among, in the gallery, was that I think that as the members of Congress saw that this wasn't just a stump speech for Israeli consumption, but a serious presentation of concerns on behalf of Israel, the Jewish people, and the other countries in the region, I thought that he was reaching many of the people on both sides of the aisle to at least give this a second and third thought.
I realize, of course, that you haven't had a chance to talk with many people yet since you left the speech and are now traveling. But what do you think the reaction will be back in Israel? Because certainly the Prime Minister had been taking a tremendous amount of heat. People were afraid. People did not want him to do this speech. They thought that it would only drive the wedge deeper between Israel and the United States. and knowing full well that he is up for re-election. So there is a reaction that we are waiting for. What do you think it's going to be?
I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech was very powerful, because I think it spoke on behalf of 99% of the Israeli population. The people who want to take his place also don't trust this deal, also are worried to death about the Iranian threat. So I believe, at least for those 45 minutes, he was speaking for everyone, although, as you know, you're in the political capital, and in Israel it's hardball and a contact sport. I don't know how much credit he'll get from the pundits, but I think he was speaking on behalf of the rank and file, at least on this day, for all Israelis.
Also, it's interesting that today, on Tuesday, the 10-year deal that the president was talking about, Iran has rejected as unacceptable the president's demand that they freeze their nuclear activities for at least 10 years, but they are going to continue talking. I would imagine there's almost some dark laughter in that words, that they will continue talking even though they say no way.
Well, look at it from their point of view. Why not? The goalposts have been moved. The original discussions were about dismantling a program, and now, as far as what's available in the public domain, it seems that the discussion is how to create a soft landing, 5-10 years down the line. And I think the Prime Minister, in a very sober and serious way, outlined that there are other ways to get an agreement out of Iran without getting a bad agreement. I think that's really the bottom line, and I'm sorry that Congresswoman Pelosi didn't hear it.
I've only got about 30 seconds left. How angry are you at the 50 House Democrats and the 8 Senate Democrats who refused to attend the speech?
I'm not really angry. Democracy allows us to make these decisions. But you know what? It really was a missed opportunity. And I'm afraid that maybe all the wrong people in the wrong zip codes will get the wrong message from their absence.
And that indeed will have to be the final word for this moment, but this fallout has only just begun. Rabbi Abraham Cooper, I know you're traveling, and I thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care. Winners, losers, and everybody in between from CPAC. Oh yeah, there were winners and there were losers. The problem with it is most people don't want to admit if they were a loser. That's coming up next. And later on this hour, the lesson America has failed to learn when dealing with Iran. And if you want to go back and learn about lessons and learn from history, say thanks to people such as Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter. History will prove it out when we continue and telling it like it is on MidPoint.